What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today I am looking ahead to KSW 85, which goes down on the 19th of August over in Poland, and it's another offering from KSW that is very good. That is packed with quality, especially at the very top. Now, I think this one maybe is a little bit more top heavy than recent cards. Look, they put a lot into the Coliseum card, which we all remember, and their last card is very good as well. So there's always going to be a bit of that. But luckily for the Coliseum card, or unluckily for the Coliseum card, luckily for this one, Parnasse fell off of that and is able to have a relatively quick turnaround, which I will talk about in a minute when we get to that fight. To fight here, and it is, it's a smaller venue, 4,000 capacity, I believe. Again, shout out to my guy Sean Dini, who always has a helping hand, and more than that, even for these previews. The great Polish MMA expert over there in Severe MMA, and on Twitter, follow him at Dini Rant as well. He's a great man. But yeah, this is one of those cards that isn't, the big ones, but they're surely getting a big fight here with the unification of the featherweight championship in the main event. And I know, usually when I start these previews, when I start maybe even the Cage Warriors, the One Championship previews, I have a little bit of a look at the, I suppose, all around nature of the scene, I suppose. And I think it's a very interesting time for the European scene right now, because even let's say if you look at maybe 2 cards ago or 3 cards ago, the scene is changing and has changed a bit, because PFL have come into the European scene. They have a Paris card coming up. They had one in Newcastle. They have one coming up in Dublin towards the end of the year as well. We know what Cage Warriors are doing all the time. Octagon have just kind of taken off. I was watching a couple of Octagon fights there recently, and they're absolutely massive. So I suppose the European scene is absolutely buzzing at the moment. And for KSW, their scene is absolutely buzzing. But I wonder if KSW are going to go a little bit further afield again. Now, I have no indication of this or anything, but you would think, you look at KSW, right, and you think how amazingly they have done over the last few years, and you would think they would be maybe the number one organisation to move further afield. Now, they have had events in the UK, they had an unbelievable event here in Ireland, and we all know what happened in Ireland, obviously after the death of Joe Carvalho and everything like that. It was very hard to put on events. If it wasn't for that, I'd say they would have put on more. So they have met hurdles along the way. But I just wonder if this fight for Europe goes on, whether maybe they'll be forced to do that, or whether they will want to do that to clinch or keep their place, maybe, if that's your opinion, as the top destination in Europe. And there's 2 ways of looking at that, right? You look at the PFL card that's coming up for their Paris card, and it's unbelievable. Now, maybe there aren't many great fights in it yet, right? But there are 7 or 8 top prospects on it, really, really good prospects on it. 3 or 4 of the Irish lads, leading the way, Franz Malamba, who's unbelievable. They're after signing the Lazy King. They have Cedric Doumbé. They have Dakota Decheva. They have Simeon Powell. That talent is absolutely insane, right? And I was talking to someone recently and saying what's this in the year Ireland card going to be like? Are we going to be able to fill the arena or whatever? And I look, that's still a question. But after looking at what they put on this Paris card, and obviously all of them are probably going to be on the Dublin card as well, that could be a really astonishing night to remember towards the end of the year. Something like what KSW have done with the Coliseum. Now, the Coliseum is the way more fans and everything, but you get me. Just all their best fighters, and that could be unbelievable. You look at Cage Warriors and what they have done over the last while. Their card in Dublin was brilliant the last time, but they've produced again fighter after fighter after fighter after fighter for the UFC. And just recently, all their champions nearly have gone, are like they always are kind of in that rebuilding stage as well. And it's not really a rebuilding stage for Cage Warriors, because that is their normal state of flux. But there is maybe an opportunity there for the others to maybe take advantage of that a little bit. Rhys McKee is gone to the UFC. Jimmy Wallhead is retired. Look, hopefully by the time this comes out, Paul Hughes will be gone to the UFC. Caelan Loughran has gone to the UFC. George Hardwick has a fight coming up in Contender Series. Ben Elliott has a big fight coming up in Contender Series. They're 205-pound champion Modestas Bukauskas has gone back to the UFC, and on and on and on and on. And the advantage here, and we've seen some of the Octagon guys as well go to the UFC. Brito's coming up, and the Lazy King was with Aries, but Aries as well have done good things. But the point I'm kind of making here is they all have their strong points, but what KSW have really is the ability to hold on to people probably better than any of the others. Now, PFL obviously are very new, and with Bellator Europe as well, another big part of this. What is the story with Bellator Europe? What is the story with Bellator? Again, as I said, I'm recording this a few days before it comes out. Maybe something will have happened in the meantime with all of that. So this, the scene is in a real state of flux at the minute. I'll just to quickly recap again. Bellator isn't even going to be in the scene in a couple of weeks. PFL have signed up loads of people. Octagon doing massive things. Cage Warriors kind of in that constant state of flux, but are going to have to rebuild their top guys again. And then Aries and all the rest, but again KSW with Parnasse. Absolutely fantastic. I'm sure any of the people going to France will want to sign him, and Halidov, all of that. They have so much. They have absolutely so much, and the initial point as well is if that battle is going to go down, are they up for that battle? Do they want that battle for Europe, or are they happy enough to kind of stay in Poland and say maybe do one in Croatia and around there, or will they go to the UK? Will they go to Ireland? Will they go to France? Maybe into Germany, wherever maybe they want to go. Is that going to be a thing? I just wanted to throw that out there at the start of this to kind of set the scene for the scene, I suppose, as it is at the moment. And I think it was weird when Bellator Europe started, right? Everyone was like, oh, is this going to be a European belt, or is this going to be, I have to win this to get to the world stage and then go on? It's just another stage in your development. And I think we need to start look, and there's somewhat still a feeling of that in a way, but I think we need to start looking at it in a different way, really. If you have a career like Halidov, what a career that is. If you can earn a lot of money and have good fights in these organizations, why not? I really think the worldwide scene is changing, but also you can make yourself a massive name, you can get good money, you can get good experience, and then maybe at the end of your contract, you could move on somewhere else, whether it is with any of these organizations, So, maybe this is one for a longer podcast that we can do in the future. Maybe I'll get a guest on to chat about it. But I really think right now we're sandwiched in between a load of cards, a lot of Octagon cards, KSW cards, Cage Warriors cards. The PFL card is coming up, the Irish Dublin card is coming up as well. A massive time for the scene. And I suppose it's a good time to have a fight like Salahdine Parnasse versus Robert Ruchala on this at the top of the card. Look, what more is there to say about Salahdine Parnasse? 17-1. His one loss was to Daniel Torres. He avenged that, some 10 months later. He was caught with kind of a forearm strike and knocked out. But other than that, he has been ruthless in there, finishing so many of his fights, for a guy who's been fighting, at a kind of a lower weight class maybe. He has just looked absolutely unbelievable. And he's, let me just look, 25 years of age. 25 years of age. This guy, he's everything you want. You look at some of the names he's beaten, right? And I mentioned a couple of them there, Rukowski, Daniel Torres, even Bushinger, Roman Szymanski, Martin Vorshek, Morgan Charrier, who's after signing for the UFC, William Gomis, who's in the UFC back in the day. The list goes on and on and on. So it's not just as if he's, beaten nobody. He's out somewhere. He's beaten really good guys along the way. And he has really become one of the best fighters in the world, I suppose, outside of the UFC. In the chasing back, if he isn't in your top 3 to 5 fighters in the world, I'd say you probably don't know who he is, because he's right up there. There's no shadow of a doubt about that. And this is a big opportunity for him, I suppose, to get another W in there, unifying the title against Ruchala, who is also a very good fighter, and he's fighting in his hometown. 25-year-old, as I said, the interim champion, got a big knockout to win the title in, I think it was the 5th round. He's undefeated as well, not as well, but he is undefeated 9-0. And you know, the lads he's beaten, the names aren't the same, but like when you see someone like Damian Stasiak on it, you know, his last opponent, Lomali Eskiju, was 20-6. So there are definitely some guys in there with you know, records you would not want to come up against. So he fought Patryk Kamziak, who's in on this card as well, whose name I will pronounce better later on. They were both undefeated at the time, and he came through it and got the unanimous decision win in that one. So, you know, a real good fighter just by looking at his record. But looking at him as a fighter himself, he's very, very good too. Had a 9-0 here, but like a long amateur career. I think he'd something like 15 fights as an amateur, and like all the way back to 2017. So I think all those 15 fights were in the space of like 2.5 years. And that is exactly, I suppose, what you would want, you know, and fighting all around the place, fighting in different places, getting all that experience in. It's absolutely brilliant. But as a fighter himself, I suppose when you look at some of his highlights and when you look at the ends of some of his fights, you see him and you're like, okay, this guy is a jiu-jitsu guy, he's a ground guy, and there is no doubt about that. Look, he has 3 submissions in his 9 wins, 1 knockout and 5 decisions, and he is fantastic on the ground, like really, really good, very strong in the clinch. I love his transitions. That to me is what makes him a top level fighter, or one that could reach a top level. I think it's his ability to move from a negative to a positive place with like such ease. And he's a guy who, like, you see him standing and you think, like, maybe, okay, this guy isn't maybe the most powerful guy in the world or isn't the strongest guy in the world, but then you get to that clinch, or you get to the ground, or you get to a struggle for a position on the ground, and the strength is like the I don't know what the word would be like, but like the calisthenics, is that the word? Is that I'm just throwing that in there without actually really know what it means, but like just like it's more the strength of his movements than the strength of himself, if that makes sense. In Ireland here, what we call it maybe farmer strength, like that, you know, very strong at moving his opponents around. And he's just, look, a guy who maybe isn't the most natural on the feet, but is so natural on the ground, like just so natural on the ground. He's striking at the other side of it then, improving. A lot. If you watch a fight of his from a few years ago and you watch it now, there's definitely improvements there. What I like from him are his kicks. You know, he throws that front kick, he throws the leg kick, and there's 2 reasons for that, right? He throws the front kick because he's happy enough to get taken down. Now, a lot of the time, do you know what he actually loves as well? Like, he loves getting taken down, right? Getting back up against the cage, getting to the clinch, and then trying to take someone down from there. He loves fighting against the cage. He's one of those type of guys. He loves to kind of lock you up, let you move, and then where does he shine? In the transition. In the transition, when you're trying to move, he will take the back, he will take the arm bar, whatever it might be. Really, really good in that position. So a lot of his kicks are for that, especially the front kick. And I just think the leg kick is the perfect kick for him, because he likes to fight like on the outside. He likes to fight far out and come in quickly. But it feels like he's saying, right, what is the best weapon that I can throw in this position? And it feels like, right, I'm going to bang in leg kick after leg kick after leg kick in training and just become really good at them. And he has, especially with that outside leg kick, just really good. Look, I think he's attempting to become more technical. And he is becoming more technical. Like, his jab is better, his straights are better, but it is the wild thing that will either get him a big shot landed. Look, we've seen it happen to Parnasse before. He throws wheel kicks, he throws big high kicks. He throws it all. He really does throw it all. But I really think those front kicks, those leg kicks, are what he needs to be doing here to make it a tough night on Parnasse. Now, the other side of it then, Parnasse, just hard to say anything but top level with him. He has really good technical striking. He can hit hard. His tactics are really good. His shot selection is really good. And all because of that, his cardio is really good too. Plus, he can grapple, especially as the later the fight goes. And when I say grapple, he's good takedowns, good submissions, and all of that. What I love from him is his ability to control you. And what I mean by that is he will keep you at the end of the jab and jab away and leg kick away and teep away and touch you and touch you and touch you into a place where, right, he's not winning by that much. Right? He's just ahead, but he is winning. And you get 3 minutes into that and you're 4 minutes into that and you realize, okay, maybe, look, I might lose this round. Okay, we'll move on and we'll see. But then you get 7, 8 minutes. You're like, I can't throw away 2 rounds here. I'm going to have to do something. And when you do something, that's when he catches you. He baits you and baits you and baits you. And then he counters. And when he does counter, it's either a big takedown or a big left hand fighting out southpaw position, or a big, like a 3-punch counter combo. And then you're like, well, he's just been keeping me at the end of his jab for this whole fight. I've decided to open up and now I'm getting hit worse. What to do next? And that is, that is a question that a lot of guys will not know the answer for right then. And if you're fighting Parnasse, you have to ask yourself that question a week out, 2 weeks out, 10 weeks out. Well, a week or 2 out is probably not enough. But you know what I mean? In the middle of camp. He's not one of these guys who say, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fight my game and I'm going to beat him. And if he beats me, fair enough. You have to fight around his game. I truly believe that with Parnasse, or he'll just pick you apart. And he'll pick you apart until you change something in the middle of the fight, and he'll pick you apart worse. I think Ruchala is actually like a pretty good guy to be able to do that, if I'm being honest. Now, you look at most guys and you think, right, even if they had that knowledge of what I just said there, what can they do about it anyway, right? Like, what do you really do? Are you going to now out technique him? Are you going to stay way out of distance? Like, that's not going to work either. Are you going to try to take him down early? Well, he's some really good footwork and he's going to be able to move out of it. It's a really tough situation. Like, it's a really tough situation. But what do? Like, you do what Torres did against him. You throw like spinning back elbows and spinning forearms at him and stuff like that. That's what you do, right? Unless you're like a top level striker or wrestler against him. Is Ruchala either of them? I don't think so. So what he needs to do is get wild. Throw those spinning back fists. Throw those high kicks. Throw those wheel kicks. Throw the shots at him. Throw that leg kick. Try to get that nerve. I said, the Michael Chandler nerve, the Conor McGregor nerve, the one that you kick the outside of the calf and boom, the fight's over basically, That's the sort of thing he needs to do here. He really does. And if he can't, and it's not easy. Look, the obvious pick here is Parnasse. Parnasse is just going to pick him apart until he is forced to make a mistake, and then he will make the mistake an even bigger mistake. And that's how I think this fight will go. Now, one thing I want to say here before I move on, Salahdine Parnasse was due to fight on 155, 7 weeks ago or so? And I just mentioned earlier on the Coliseum show, he's supposed to fight in the co-main event with the lightweight title on the line. His opponent was injured in the warm-up area and the fight didn't happen. I just wonder how going back down in weight in such close proximity to when you were supposed to last fight without actually having the fight, how much will that play into it? Like, a lot of guys I know, when they go up to 155, they go up a weight class, they put on that 10 pounds of muscle, or they put on 15 pounds of muscle, and they think, well, I have a bit more out to cut in terms of or I have a bit more leeway with what I have to cut, and if I put on a few pounds of muscle, there's no problem because I'm a bit bigger now and I've more of a percentage to lose, or whatever it might be. Or let's say they were 20 pounds over in terms of the cut they had to make at the camp, and if they put on 15 pounds of muscle, there's only 5 to go in after that or whatever. It's and those numbers are out of kilter, but you know what I mean. That's a question I have. Like, who knows the answer to that question? He knows the answer to that question. Would he have taken the fight on that notice if that was a big question? You'd like to think not, but like, then how do you look at the opponent? How does he look at the opponent? I think there's big questions over that. Now, will it play a factor in here? I honestly don't think so, right? But it could, and it's just one thing I definitely wanted to mention here. And if you're looking for a path to victory for Ruchala, if you can take him there, you know, if he can get a couple of takedowns, if he can push him into those places where the transitions are a big part to this fight, well, the weight cut could be an issue then. And like as well, I said about the cardio earlier on of Parnasse. I think a big part of that cardio is the ability to fight at his own pace. If you allow him to fight at that pace, he will keep that cardio. If you don't, then it'll be tested, as it would be with anyone. But a guy who, was at a weight class above only 7 weeks ago to come back down here now, big question. So, it probably won't play into it at all, but I did want to mention it. Right, let's run through the rest of the card here, because as I said, this is a very top heavy card. The co-main event light heavyweight championship, I suppose, is the other one. So there's two massive fights here, and you know, obviously that's what makes it top heavy. Ibragim Chuzhiaev is taking on Bogdan Gnidko. And this is a very interesting fight. I went and I watched, obviously, both of these lads, and they are different sorts of fighters. I think to put it lightly, Ibragim 17-5, 10-0 for Bogdan. Ibragim is a guy who, at the heavyweight division, the light heavyweight division, but the heavier divisions, doesn't have the biggest finishing record in the world, around the 50% in terms of finishes, whereas Bogdan, and if you watched half a round of both of these guys, you'd probably, and I gave you the records, you'd probably tell me who was who. Bogdan, all 10 of his finishes have been inside the distance, but at the same time, you look at Ibrahim's record and it's been unflappable for a good while now. He's won his last, let me look here, 8 fights in a row. He beat Ivan Erslan last time out at the end of last year, beat Thomas Narcoon. Before that, I went back and watched that fight. And look, it was a very kind of slow enough fight, I suppose, and he did enough in it to get the win. But that's the sort of fight that you really, you keep in your back pocket for the rest of your career, knowing you can do that sort of thing. And he went 5 rounds last time out as well. Whereas Bogdan, he's a guy who's never been out of the first round, and we'll see how that's going to play into it. But his power is astonishing. He is just a madman. He comes out early with these big shots, and he's just really, really good at it. He's fighting out of Ukraine, but does a lot of these training over in the UFD gym, who we all know every time you listen to this. And I'm talking to Shawnee about it, the best gym in those parts. It's absolutely unbelievable. I think you look at Bogdan, and you just think that fast start is something that is very, very good, but will he be able to do it in this fight? I think he will, to be honest, because Ibragim is not exactly the fastest starter in the world himself, and not that he's a slow starter, but he doesn't start in that sort of fashion. He is a guy who is, the same pace for 25 minutes. And that sometimes at the higher weight classes is a tough thing to get past. He's well rounded. He can, cardio is not an issue for him because of the cadence. He talks about very good kickboxer, but he can grapple as well. He is strong wrestling. He won, I think, 12 of his 15 fights over in ACB, so very, very good fighter. Anyone beats Thomas Narcoon, is a very, very good fighter. So look, what will this come down to? It will come down to if Bogdan can go out there and finish Ibragim Chuzhiaev early. I really think it will come down to that. If he can't, then we have a whole different ball game, right? So Bogdan's going to have to produce something he's never produced before, which is a longer, more detailed game plan to try to beat a guy. if it doesn't happen as well, you have to think Ibrahim gets into like the latter part of the first round, into the second and third round. Let's see if it goes there. And he's probably thinking to himself, right, let's just keep it at this pace. I can keep going at this pace all day. Can he? Right? Now, maybe he can. Maybe he can. But we don't know yet. And that's always the problem with, I suppose, these lightning up and coming fighters who look absolutely unbelievable. There's so many questions unanswered with them. But what I'm looking forward to here is seeing the betting lines coming out. I like Bogdan's style. I think he has a massive athletic advantage over Ibrahim. I think that power is unquestionable. And I think, was it his last fight? Let me just check here. No, it was 2 fights ago, KSW 77, when he landed a head kick knockout. It was one of those head kicks, right? And I've said this about a fight recently. I can't remember what one it was, but some head kicks are kind of just thrown and they land, and some are thrown to like a pinpoint place. And I felt like that one for him. It was against Madeleine Pivelescu. KSW 77. It was a beautiful shot. There was I think a groin strike or something just before, and there was a bit of a stoppage, and he came back and he landed. You could see he was trying to pick it, and then he did pick it, and Goddard came in and stopped it quickly after that. It was a lovely finish altogether. There's a fly fucking landed me. But yeah, he has that in his locker, and I just think anyone can, or a lot of people can have this big, massive power and this, this physical advantage over people. But if you don't have that little bit of smarts, you're not going to get to the very top. But I think he has that as well. Now it remains to be seen, but let's see, and I think that's going to be a very, very interesting one. The first round of that will tell so much. It will tell so much. And then the rounds after it will tell as well. So let's see how it all plays out. Right, let's run through the rest of this card here pretty quickly. Maybe I mentioned him earlier. Patryk Kaczmarczyk. He's taking on Danu Turchalu. 9-2 versus 6-1. Patryk, 25-year-old, very good wrestler. But has a taekwondo background as well. Watching a few of his fights, he'd remind you of the Shelley brothers in Ireland with that taekwondo background, but are doing a lot of grappling now as well. He's very, very good. His opponent, Danu, is only 20 years of age, fighting out of Moldova. Again, very well-rounded, is a finisher, solid wrestling and solid kickboxing as well. Will I give you my picks? Okay, I'll give you my picks as we go through them. In the main event, I'm going to go for Parnasse. Do you know what? I'm going to go for Bogdan Gnidko in the co-main event. I'm going to go for Kaczmarczyk in this one, just because of that extra bit of age and that extra bit of experience, but we'll see on that one. The next fight then, Patryk Surdyn against Kamil Szkaradek. 28 years of age is Patryk, the former title contender. He got knocked out in that, but he's a very strong grappler, very good jiu-jitsu, very good cardio as well. Kamil then, he's also a very good grappler, 25 years of age in Krakow, undefeated. But a lot of decisions, I suppose. I think this is going to be a bit of a longer one. And we'll go for Kamil to win that one there. Another undefeated guy in the next fight, 27-year-old Umar C from Paris, fighting Kleber Silva. Very, very, very good prospect to see. There was talks of him going to the UFC, obviously in France, and the French card is coming up. A very good grappler, heavy on top, very, very good submissions, but he can kickbox as well, and he has power in his hands. He's fighting a 35-year-old veteran from Brazil with 14 knockouts in his record. He fought against Lukasz Soldowski at KSW last January and got a win over him, and he's a few submissions there as well. But you'd fancy C to win that one. Maybe just a little bit quicker, I think. But he'd want to keep away from that power. If he does, I think he can get through that one. Then we've Michal Pietrzak against Marcin Krakowiak, a 35-year-old versus a 30-year-old. Michal has been around for a while now. He trains with the likes of Gamrot and Mankowski. He's a tough guy, great cardio, strong wrestling, but a good kickboxing game as well. You know, your usual KSW guy, you know, just very well rounded. Marcin then is fighting out of Lodz, where Pavel Pawlak and Adrian Bartosinski, the two champions at the moment, are a good strong wrestler as well. Good submissions. He's a very good guillotine. Takes your back very quickly, and a very good high kick as well. Look, could this be the younger man, I suppose, coming up? Maybe I'll go with Marcin to win that one. Adrianna Kraft in 5-0 against 5-1 Yasmin. Guimaraes, two young enough prospects. Guimaraes fighting out of Brazil, 27 years of age. Has a lot of decisions, but very good BJJ and very good on the feet as well. Adrianna, very good kickboxer. And I think she will get the decision there in that one. Lucas Rakowski, who's also another person who's been around for a good long time. 20 fights into his career now. He's taken on Wilson Varela out of France. Rakowski's 34 years of age now. Again, fighting out of that gym as well with Gamrat and Mankowski and his brother Sebastian Rakowski. You know, knockout artist again, good kickboxing. I think it's Sanda background that he has, but he's, you know, getting better on the ground all the time. Varela then, as I said, fighting out of France, a good all-around fighter with big power. I'll go for Rakowski to win that on hometown turf, I suppose. And in the opening fight at night, two up-and-comers, I suppose, 2-0, Victor Sheveja against Sandra Succar. Victoria. She's a 19-year-old prospect that was over an American top team, so definitely want to look out for here. Ferocious. There isn't much of there. Obviously, she's only 2-0, but she just seems like one of these people who is just going to go for you and go for you and go for you and not stop. And she looks a really, really good prospect. Sandra on the other side of it, 24 years of age from Lebanon. She came through the amateur scene, the Gamma amateur scene, I believe, as well. So, you know, going to have a lot of experience when you come through those sort of scenes. So that should be an interesting fight and an interesting test, I suppose, for Victoria. So, yeah, all in all, very, very good card again from KSW. A lot of prospects, but the top two fights, and especially the main event, are fascinating watches, and I can't wait to see them. All right, everyone, let me know in the comment section below which fight you're most looking forward to. Let me know who you think is going to win in the co-main event. I think a lot of people are going to pick Parnasse, so let me know who you think is going to win in the co-main event. Please give us a like and subscribe if you haven't already. That would be absolutely brilliant. I will leave it there. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.